Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Certified Peer Educator Training Program. We hope that you enjoy all of these modules that you go through. I got to take this training to be a trainer, and I really loved all the material that I went through and saw in this training, so I hope you love it as well. I got the opportunity to meet most of you in your interviews. If I haven't met you yet, I'm Serena Shade. I'm the Senior Director for the Risk Intervention and Safety Education Office. Our office also has program managers. We have a program manager of sexual health and healthy relationships. We have a program manager of substance use and wellness initiatives, and we have a program manager of mental well-being. You'll get to meet those individuals if you didn't meet them in your interview as well in our in-person training before school starts. But we're excited to welcome you to the team and get you trained as a certified peer educator. We are going to talk for a second about the CPE pretest. You'll notice it says in your workbook, we actually have the link in this Google Classroom. It's the link before Module 1. If you haven't had a chance to take the pretest, please go ahead and exit out and take the pretest now. I did want you to know there are no right or wrong answers with that. We just want you to answer honestly, and you'll have a post-test at the end to evaluate how you grew from your answers in the pretest to the post-test. We are going to look at establishing some ground rules. It is a little different because you are taking this training virtually, but even when you are a peer educator, we hope that you have an inclusive personality and you're respectful to everybody else that is a peer educator. That's really important in our office that we're kind and considerate of everyone that is a peer educator. While you're taking this training, we might be talking about some rough topics, so please take care of yourself. Take breaks if you need. Reach out to one of a pro staff member if you feel like you might need some support in talking about those topics. We also want you to be open to new and different ideas. In my 10 years of being at Texas Tech University, one thing that is inevitable is change. We have changes that come through every single year, so we hope that you have the approach that new and different ideas are welcomed, and we're always trying to improve. We also want you to be mindful of being connected to this training. I hope that you're not scrolling on TikTok or social media as you're going through this. We really want you to grasp and learn all the ideas. There is a post test at the end, and then you actually have a CPE exam. You have to score 80% or better on that exam to become a certified peer educator. So please make sure that you are really grasping the information in this training. So I'm going to start with the history of Bacchus. There's a little bit of history, and then we'll dive right into Module 1. So Bacchus was a nonprofit organization, and it was founded in 1975 at the University of Florida. So students formed this organization with the assistance of Tom Goodall. He was a campus professional, and Gerardo Gonzalez. He was a graduate student, and they really wanted to address alcohol awareness and abuse prevention at their school. This was the first organization of its kind, and as word spread throughout higher education, the term peer educator was born. Over the years, Bacchus expanded and spread the peer education model to campuses nationwide and even went internationally. And in January of 2014, Bacchus merged with NASPA, which I'll talk about in a second. And this merger allowed for more collaboration and more opportunities from both organizations. But then finally, in April of 2018, the name Bacchus Initiatives was retired in favor of health, safety, and well-being. And this rebranding just helped better reflect our staff scope of work, and staff being you as well. Health, safety, and well-being initiatives. So what is NASPA? You may hear some peer educators talk about going to the NASPA conference. NASPA is Student Affairs Administrations and Higher Education. It's headquartered in Washington, D.C. It has 14,000 individual members and 1,500 institutional members. We go to this conference every year, sometimes take some peer educators with us, and they talk about programming and events that their campuses are doing. The University of Kentucky, the University of Texas at Austin, Oklahoma State University, all these other campuses will come and say what they're doing. And it gives us ideas to bring back to our campus for better programming and tabling events. But NASPA really is the leading voice for student affairs professionals. So a little history of the Certified Peer Educator Training Program. It was first established in 1994, and it's gone through tons of different versions. Back in the day, you would get VHS videos and watch the training. And now, obviously, we have an online training with slides. The current version debuted in 2016, and NASPA's always on the lookout for new content and new delivery methods. Since it first came out, the Certified Peer Educator Training Program, more than 300,000 students and trainers have been certified. So CPE is used at more than 450 institutions internationally and nationally. So you're becoming part of a huge organization and a really well-respected organization. So now we're going to dive into Module 1, which is understanding the power, roles, and characteristics of peer educators. So the Module 1 outline, we're going to look at what is a peer educator and who are peer educators. We're going to look at the roles of peer educators. We're going to look at peer educator traps. We're going to look at ethical frameworks. We're going to look at peer education code of ethics. And one of my favorite topics, self-care and peer education. All of the topics are really important, but this one is near and dear to my heart because I hope that you take care of yourself in not only your role as a peer educator, but in your academics, in your extracurriculars. And then at the end, we'll have a module review. So the first thing that I want you to do is either in your head or if you want to write it down. I want to know what is your definition of a peer and what is your definition of a peer educator. And you can take a second to pause the video and think of these topics. So, what is peer education? A peer is someone who is of equal standing with you in a group. They are accessible and share an ability to influence each other. A peer educator is a peer who maximizes their knowledge and skills to help their peers make healthy or healthier choices. So we're going to look for a second at the methodology of peer education. Alexander Aston, he was a notable higher education scholar. He conducted research on the importance of the collegiate experience. He really looked at how peers themselves are the strongest source of influence on cognitive and affective or emotional development in college. So I really, keeping this in mind, I want you to think peers are the most important influence on one another on a campus. And I want you to think, what impact can peers have on one another? And is this impact always positive? We also know that peer educators tend to be seen as trustworthy. Typically, students are more likely to share sensitive information with a peer than someone like a professor or a campus staff member. They also tend to trust the information they receive from their peers, which is why peer education is such a powerful tool for promoting healthy choices. And finally, we know that positive peer interactions are associated with a higher likelihood of college persistence. So that means that students who have regular positive interactions with their peers are more likely to stay in school and finish on time. We see this a lot with student involvement. A lot of times, students that are involved in student organizations and are communicating and talking with other peers are likely to graduate. We're going to look at a study here in a second of the National Peer Education Study. NASPA partners with Michigan State University to conduct the National Peer Education Study. It's called NPES. Each year, thousands of students and dozens of institutions participate on this study. And many of these students are certified through the CPE program. And students who participate in the MPES are asked about their growth in 6 learning domains, and you'll see the learning domains here in just one second when I share them. So these are the different learning domains: practical competence, cognitive complexity, interpersonal development, knowledge management, interpersonal competence, and civic engagement. So they've been collecting data on this for years, but CPE trained peer educators have consistently reported statistically significant gains in each of these 6 learning domains as a result of being a peer educator. The blue bar shows how confident they were before becoming a peer educator, and then the green bar shows their confidence level after being a peer educator, which, I mean, this is really something that you can take with you in life. You can show your future employers that you were a certified peer educator, and this is the skills you developed by being one. Right now, we're going to talk about the 5 roles of a peer educator. The first role of being a peer educator is being a friend. When we think of a friend, we should strive to be available to listen, right, to our friends. And we'll talk more about listening in Module 3. But also, we, as a friend, are a link to people who need resources to help them. And we also are supportive and encouraging of our friends. Generally, peer educators work on a one-on-one level in their role as a friend, but this does not mean that a peer educator is everyone's best friend. Another role that we have as a peer educator is we are an educator. It's in the name. Educators are people who try to teach, right? You know this because you are in classes with professors. When we serve as educators, we try to increase awareness, maybe about social norms or healthy habits. We also strive to correct misperceptions and provide resources and referrals to our peers. This education is not always formal. It may not be that you get up and give a presentation on this education. Sometimes it's informal in conversations that we have with our peers. Another role a peer educator has is being an activist. When we think about being an activist as a peer educator, we should remember that we want to create change. Our leadership as peer educators can affect real change in our community, whether it's changing policies or providing our peers with an opportunity to grow. We recognize that we can create partnerships and networks with other campus partners. And we also commit to being active bystanders, which we'll talk about later throughout the training. But typically, the activist role focuses on community or population-wide changes and interactions. Another role that we have as peer educators is being a role model. You may have heard the phrase, do as I say, not as I do. This is not an effective role modeling technique for peer educators. We really look at do as I say and as I do. It is okay to share our stories of struggle and change, especially because this helps our peers see that we're leading by example. Another role that you have by being a peer educator is that you're a team member with other peer educators. We really want you to be an active member of our team. We recognize that we're not alone in our efforts to create change. As team members, we should support our fellow peer educators while also feeling comfortable to ask for help for ourselves. It's vital that we look to our supervisor, your program manager, for advice and support. The supervisor that you have is dedicated to the peer education program, and they'll support you in the work that you're doing. So I want you to think for a second, and you after I ask these questions, you can pause. What roles are easy to serve in, do you feel like, and which roles do you think would be difficult to serve in? Do any of these roles sound feasible to serve in? And then how do these roles intersect with one another? Next, we're really going to look at an ethical framework and talk about ethics and integrity. Ethics is moral principles that govern a person or a group's behavior. Integrity is really the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles or moral uprightness. I always think about integrity as what we do when my actions when someone's not looking at me. When someone's not watching my actions, what am I doing? And that's my integrity. Kitchener has a framework for an ethical framework, and I really want y'all to think about this, in life and as you go through roles and other jobs. A lot of times jobs will have a framework. As a counselor, I have an ethical framework in dealing with clients. My brother is in human resources, and he has an ethical framework in dealing with employees at his company. So a lot of jobs that we will have some type of ethical framework. So Kitchener has 5 moral principles to his framework. So the first one is autonomy. We really must respect each other's right to our own choices. We should avoid trying to force our opinions or beliefs on other people, especially when we're trying to help people. Every person is unique. We look at non-maleficence, and that is really looking at we must not take any action or engage in any behavior that would cause harm to someone else. So doing no harm. Beneficence, similarly, should strive to take action and engage in behaviors that help and benefit those around us. So doing good. Justice, as peer educators, we are obligated to ensure that we treat others with fairness and respect. Um, Fairness is a big key component in my work at Texas Tech. I and in the office of Rise, I want to treat everybody fairly. Your program manager as well wants to treat all of the peer educators fairly. So fairness is a big principle that I have in the office of Rise. And then fidelity. We have an obligation to be reliable and trustworthy in carrying out our duties of our position. So keeping our promises. So here's the Peer Educator Code of Ethics. It says, I value and know who I am. I am an individual, a friend, an educator, an activist, a role model, and a team member, and I am a peer educator. We're going to look at the common traps of being a peer educator, and they're going to show some videos. And all these slides are through NASPA because it is their certified training. So they've recorded some videos on these different traps that happen as a peer educator. Some of the common ones that we see is trying to do too much, taking on something too big, internalizing the issue, and blurring the lines of ethics and integrity. So here's a video on trying to do too much.
This week has been a nightmare. How am I supposed to get all my work done? My gosh, I forgot about the leadership meeting.
Hey, Megan, do you have a few seconds? Just came to talk to you.
Yeah, but can we make it quick? I'm late for a meeting. So.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
No, it's fine. I do want to hear things been going on with you and your boyfriend ever since the last time we talked.
Things have been fine. It's whatever. Look, I don't want to make you more stressed out.
No, look, you're my friend. I do want to hear about it, but can we talk, let's say 7 o'clock tomorrow? I mean, I've got field hockey practice for the rest of the day. I've got a presentation and I've got a gamma meeting tomorrow. But look, 7 o'clock would work for sure. Will that be okay? I might have to stop by and go get something to eat along the way, but maybe we'll have time. I promise. I promise. But will that be okay?
Sure, of course.
Okay. All right, thanks.
We see this so much in our peer educators. As a student, you already have a lot on your plate. Sometimes you're involved in extracurriculars, sometimes you have another job, and we feel like a lot of times our peer educators are trying to do too much. Highly active students fall into this trap. We really don't want you pouring from an empty glass. I'm sure you've heard that before. You've got to have a little bit of water in your glass before you can start pouring into other people's. We're all busy, but sometimes this can really be detrimental to our overall well-being. So we really want you to be the best self that you can be and make sure that you take care of yourself first before you can help other people. This next video is taking on something too big.
Hey, I got your text. What did you want to talk about? Well, last night my boyfriend was super angry with me. He was screaming at me and going off at me in the parking lot. People were staring and he raised his hand like he was going to hit me, but he stopped himself. Nothing happened. He apologized right after and he's being all sweet with me, trying to make me feel better, but I couldn't look at him the same way. And this morning he started texting me saying things like, I love you, babe, and I would never hurt you, but I don't know. I want to believe him, but I was really scared.
I am so sorry that happened. This is not okay. I need to get you out of this relationship. You need to break up with him and he needs to leave you alone.
I understand what you're saying, but you don't know him like I do. He's not just going to accept it and disappear. And besides, I don't think that he would actually hit me.
You don't know what could happen next time. If he has a problem with you breaking up with him, he needs to go through me to get to you. Now give me your phone. I'm deleting his number.
I don't think that would
No.
really help.
Trust me.
We're gonna delete his number and we're gonna block him on social media too. Is that really the best solution? Trust me, it's gonna work.
So we see this sometimes happen with peer educators. This trap often comes up when we want to help someone with a situation without wanting to get others involved. Some of these situations require someone with expert training or influence to help us. I'll say, even being a professional on campus, if somebody comes to me with a suicidal ideation, even though I'm a counselor by nature, I still have to refer them to the dean of students office. So that way, that office, who is equipped to handle that, can take care of the situation. So if there's a situation that you feel like you can't handle, and it's beyond your control, we're not going to look at you as less than because you didn't handle it. Because again, we really pride ourselves on being a referral office, and there's a lot of campus and community support for situations that may occur. So please reach out for help if something feels too big for you to take on. Internalizing the issue is the next video.
I'm really worried about her. We've got to get her some help. I know. Can you believe someone would do that? I think she's trying to pretend it didn't happen, and she doesn't want to talk about it. I think she's ashamed of what happened the other night, but if she's thinking about it half as much as I do, she must be going crazy. I don't want to leave her by herself. She's just so upset. I mean, don't you think she should be angry? I'm angry. Why do we let people get away with this? I don't understand why she's more upset about this. I'm upset for her.
So sometimes this will happen when a peer shares a story with us that resonates with an experience that we've had in our own lives. This is sometimes being referred as triggering, or we got triggered. If we get into a situation that triggers us, we might find it difficult to react in an unbiased manner based on what we've been through. This is really ineffective when we're trying to help people. So if we feel like we're getting triggered or we're internalizing the issue, we should acknowledge that we may not be the best person to help them. And this is when we can refer them to somebody else to get support. And the last video is blurring the lines of integrity and ethics.
Hey, Adam, you're a TA for Health 101, right?
Yeah, I'm actually grading their tests right now.
Oh, how's that going? I wouldn't want to have to grade all those papers. I mean, taking the class once was enough for me.
It's actually not that bad. I mean, I get to see how bad all of them do on these tests. These tests are so easy.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Sam didn't grasp that material.
They can be really stupid sometimes. Here, I'll find you another one.
Okay, I want to see what other mistakes people made.
So we discussed this earlier in the module that it's important for us to act with integrity and act ethically in the work we do. However, sometimes we might blur this line and find ourselves in situations in which we will compromise our integrity. We can do this by promising confidentiality, maybe gossiping, not respecting privacy. The list could really go on. One of the things that we want to tell you all is not to make the promise that you can keep confidentiality. We will get Title IX to train you all because you all will be mandated reporters of sexual assault, stalking, discrimination, all of those areas. And as mandated reporters, if somebody discloses information to you, you have to report it. So we cannot promise confidentiality. We have some policies and procedures that we're going to go through when we go to the in-person training, so you'll learn more about that. Please keep in mind that we are asking you to agree to the Peer Educator Code of Ethics, and that's you saying, yes, you will respond to situations where danger is imminent. Again, not promising privacy or confidentiality, and not reporting those dangerous situations is what that line is saying. We're going to talk about self-care in peer education. Like I said, this is one of my favorite topics. It's a vital skill for peer educators to have. We're going to talk about being more mindful of our boundaries and stressors, how to manage our time and stress more effectively. So on this slide, we tend to experience two types of stress. Eustress is sometimes known as good stress, stress that is not excessive, and it can be positive, such as maybe completing this CPE training program. Excessive stress can cause distress, which can really be detrimental to your overall mental well-being. So we're going to look at this graph here. We're talking about the concepts that are in this graph. On the y-axis, we have performance. So this could be your academic performance, your athletic performance, or just your overall level of functioning. On the x-axis, we see the stress level. At point A, the student has no stress and is showing low performance. So they may not have any motivation to get anything done. At point B, the student has a moderate amount of stress, but is performing at a high level. So this is eustress. And then finally, point C shows us distress. And this is the student experiencing an overwhelming amount of stress and thus is not performing to their potential as well. So you can see that no stress and distress can often impact somebody's performance. So now I want to show y'all a video on boundaries. It's one of my favorites.
As peer educators, we get a lot out of helping the students that we work with, but one thing that's absolutely critical to your success as a peer educator is remembering balance in your life. A story that we've told throughout the history of the Certified Peer Educator program is that of a store, and I'm going to tell you that story right now. So imagine, if you would, with me, a store that just opened for the first time, and this store, in order to get new customers and be successful, is trying a new marketing technique. And their marketing technique is pretty simple. They say, we're going to be open all the time, and we're going to have everything you could possibly imagine and anything you want. And the best part, everything's going to be absolutely free. Well, as you might guess, some people hear this marketing ploy and they think that can't possibly be real. So customers start coming in slowly at first, asking, do you have any of this or do you have any of that? And the store owners say, yes, absolutely. We have everything and everything's free. Pretty soon, word gets out and people are lined up and down the street to get into this store. And the store owners are so busy filling orders and helping people out and getting everyone exactly what they want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that before long, wouldn't you know it, they didn't have any time to restock the store. And eventually they have to start saying, oh, we don't have this or we don't have that. And eventually someone comes in and really needs a product, and the store owners have to say, no, we don't have that. We never took time to reorder. We never took time to resupply. We never took time to get our store back up to where it needed to be to help people out. And now we don't have what you need to get helped. This is what can happen to us as peer educators. If we let ourselves be available 24/7, if we let ourselves constantly be available, we're going to be the ones looking someone in the eye and saying, I just can't help you. I just can't. So remember to find balance in your work as a peer educator so that you can continue to help students the best way possible.
I really hope that you all continue to reference this video and think about it as your time as a peer educator. It's really one of my favorites. So we are almost done with module 1. We're going to review it. So we're going to look at what is the definition of a peer. So to recap, someone who is of equal standing with you in a group. Peers are accessible and share an ability to influence one another. A peer educator is a peer who maximizes their knowledge and skills to help their peers make healthy or healthier choices. Again, think RISE being the R in safer. We want all of our students on campus to be safe, but they engage in drinking, they engage in sexual relationships. So we really want to make sure that they're making safer choices with that R. We're going to talk, I'm going to go down to bullet point 3. What are the 5 roles of a peer educator? And then I'll pop back up to number 2. The 5 roles of a peer educator are being a friend, an educator, an activist, a role model, and a team member. We also need to look at the common traps of being peer educators: trying to do too much, taking on something too big, internalizing the issue, and blurring the lines of integrity and ethics. Your program manager is going to be an amazing support to you if you fall into any of these traps. We see this time and time again. Peer educators try to just keep mudding through the waters and not saying anything, and we will hear about it. So some other peer educator will come tell us that you're struggling one of these common traps, or we'll kind of see your demeanor change. So please reach out to us for help before you get into that situation. And the last thing is just for yourself, look at the importance of self-care as your role as a peer educator, but not just in your role as a peer educator, your role as a student in your academics, in your extracurriculars, in your relationships with family, friends, maybe even a significant other. How do you take care of yourself in those areas? And that wraps up Module 1.